then if the goal is to keep, look, Hamas is going to get some of the food. Okay, there's no denying that. So if the goal is to keep Hamas from just eating, then you have to stop all food aid. There's no other way. They're going to get.
It's not to not let Hamas eat. It's for Hamas not to be able to take the food and sell it 3 times the price to Gaza.
But we already know they're. But they're doing that anyway. They're going to do that anyway.
Yeah. There are ways. For example, Israel has some other human aid groups that they trust more, that they check their practice, like that they're willing to work with more because they have been less.
What are those groups? What are those groups?
I mean, I don't remember those names. Okay, here's a tragedy that I will agree with you probably. One of them was the one that Israel by mistake
World Central Kitchen.
Yes, that was one of the ones that Israel trusted more than the other ones that they were working with. That was a huge mistake and a tragedy, and people should be held accountable. But one of the ones that Israel trusted more, because with the way they operated, was that one, right?
And what did that group get in exchange for being trusted by Israel? 3 drone strikes on that.
Right. So what, you think that was intentional?
No, I think it was just complete negligence.
I think it was a mistake.
But can we discern between an honest mistake and negligence? Right, those are not the same thing.
Yeah.
So if you're
saying not the same thing, but here's the thing. How about this? Actually, I think we could agree. I think we could agree here. Okay, it's either on purpose, okay, a mistake, but they didn't want to commit, a mistake that happened because they didn't care. It was negligence, right? Or not in this case, but if you want to exhaust all the options, justified. But in this case, this last option is not the case, right? But here's the thing. I agree that it could be negligence. It could be on purpose. It could be something that was just a mistake that was not negligence. It was just an honest mistake. It could be all of these options. I don't think me and you have the data to be able to tell exactly which one it is.
But now you're kind of dismissing the argument now by kind of minimizing and saying, well, we don't really have all the data. Well, there are some things that we do know. We do know that World Central Kitchen gave their coordinates to the IDF. So explain to me, unless it's gross negligence or on purpose,
I will.
How this could happen, how this could be an honest mistake, given the fact that IDF has their coordinates, and given the fact that they have that thing on the top, which essentially says like whatever humanitarian.
Because sometimes they bomb their own people while knowing their coordinates.
That's gross negligence too. Yeah, I'm not saying they've shot their own hostages.
No. Sometimes they shot their own soldiers, right? Yeah. So that is obviously something that they did not want to do. But the example of shooting their own hostages, right? Because that is obviously something they are
negligent.
Okay, yeah. If you want to say that that's something that I condemn, something that people should be held accountable for, I completely agree.
No,
okay, and here's the thing: they fired the generals over this. People are being investigated. Unlike Israel is a country responsible enough to actually do an investigation on this and try to hold people responsible for doing such a thing. Okay, but what I'm saying is that given that they even killed their own hostages, this shows that there's not some intentionality behind this.
You don't understand what the word negligence means. There does not need to be any kind of intentionality for it to be negligent.
Right.
Intentionality means you're deliberately trying to kill those people. That's not what I'm arguing.
But how do you tell?
So you keep talking about intention. You don't need intention to have negligence.
Right. I agree.
I want to make sure we're clear on this.
I know the difference. That's why I had 4 categories. When it comes to mistake, right? So I'm just trying to rule that one out, and then we will have two options left.
I've already agreed with you.
You agree that a mistake. You agree that a mistake could be because of negligence, or it could be not because of negligence. Do you agree that it could be either one?
It could be an honest mistake. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So how can we tell which one it is right now?
By several things. Number one is the fact that the World Central Kitchen gave the coordinates to the IDF. So at the very least, they should have been tracking the coordinates. Number 2 is because they had that big ass thing at the top of their thing. And number 3, because it was 3 strikes.
No, it's nighttime. It was nighttime.
So
the big ass thing on top of it.
What does that
So
change?
the big ass thing on top of the rooftop, it's not that easy to see that. If you look at the footage that they have, when they're shooting at these things at nighttime, it's not that clear. I've seen the footage when they were shooting at at
Okay,
nighttime.
I'll just go ahead and just grant you that one and just throw that thing out the window. They still have the fact that they have the coordinates.
Yes,
They gave the
but
idea.
here's my point.
But also, wait, dude, you gotta let me talk like once in a blue moon. But also, look, let's just assume they didn't even have the coordinates, right? How would it not be negligent for Israel to just be dropping drone strikes on random trucks that they see without having any kind of deliberate reason to think it's terrorists in there?
I'm not saying it's not negligence. Okay, it
What do you
could
think
be
is more
negligence.
likely? Do you think it's more likely that's negligence or
If I had to guess right now, I would go with negligence and I would condemn it. If I had
okay?
to guess right now, right?
So
Okay,
then we
but
largely agree.
yeah, but again, I'm not going to be certain. I'm not going to be. This is just a guess. I rather wait for investigations. I just don't want to. I don't want to come up with conclusion. I just think these things require a lot more investigations, right? But again, the good thing about Israel is such a huge mistake gets taken seriously. It is being investigated. People will be held accountable. So if it is negligence, I trust Israel more than many other countries. Not, and I agree, maybe not more than United States. Okay, but more than many other countries that people will be held accountable. Maybe if it was the United States, I would be, maybe it was Canada, maybe if the United States, I would trust that more. But when it comes to Israel, the standard is higher than most other countries. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
But
so
let me
if
get to this point.
okay.
Yeah, go on.
So
No,
if
you
we
go ahead.
agree that, so I think, I don't know how to say it. I'm trying not to be insulting, but I think sometimes people, I'm not saying you, but I think sometimes people say, well, we don't know, we don't have enough information, card. So therefore we can't really make any conclusions. And it's like, okay, well, this is not a court of law. I would not feel comfortable
It
convicting
is.
someone I would not say this is beyond a reasonable doubt. Of course, there's a reasonable doubt, but we're talking about what's most likely to happen. I think pretty much everyone agrees the most likely scenario is that this was negligence, unless, of course, you're saying it was intentional, which I don't think you are, nor do I think it is.
Even
So,
if this is not negligence, I will tell you that it is extremely likely, beyond reasonable doubt, that examples of negligence is occurring within
with
IDF's operations in
systematic
Gaza.
negligence, not just like some
So
shoulder,
show
but
me
like
the systematic, but that's what I'm waiting for, the systematic part, because it's here's the thing, even if these were moral monsters who didn't care about the people in Gaza and just would like them dead, it hurts Israel. It has no benefit for Israel to just kill civilians. What would Israel get out of killing civilians in Gaza? It just brings nothing but cost for Israel when it comes.
that argument makes no sense if we're talking about negligence, right? Of course, it doesn't benefit them, right? You keep confusing, I think, intention with negligence, even though you
Right.
say you're not,
So
because you're talking about like, oh, how would it benefit them? That would only apply
yeah.
that this was an intentional crime. If it's negligence,
But
then
if this
it
hurts,
needs to be
what I'm
benefit them.
saying, if
Of course, it hurt
if it
Israel.
hurts them,
Yes, but
if it
it
hurts,
still doesn't change the culture of negligence. Of course, they probably didn't think
but
it was going to be the.
because you mentioned revenge, because you're the one who mentions
You asked me
revenge.
to
So that
speculate about the motives. I'm not saying that this case was revenge.
that
You asked me. You asked
okay.
me
So
initially.
you are now
Speculate.
taking them in. So you agree with me. So there's we might agree with something here. Okay. So you are agreeing with me that there's no intentionality behind killing civilians. So it's either negligence or a mistake or justified, because we have four options, right? Negligence, honest mistake, justified, on purpose, intentional killing of civilians, right? So you're agreeing with me that we're ruling out the intentional killing of civilians, maximizing that killing of civilians. You're saying Israel is not doing that systematically.
In this situation, it's negligence. It's not anything else.
No, I'm not talking about this situations. I'm just saying in Gaza, IDF operations in Gaza. So you agree that it's systematically, when we're talking about IDF's role and how they conduct war, where we are looking for one of these four options. When it comes to explanation for
you've told me
why
about.
high. Right. So, are you ruling out a systematic plan from the top down to intentionally increase the killing of civilians, to increase the number of civilians dying? You're ruling that out. So we agree on that.
Well, let me answer. I think that it's more likely that it's negligence. I don't think it's likely that Israel is purposely trying to kill as many civilians as possible. That doesn't mean I would rule it out. Doesn't mean I would rule it out. I'm just saying I don't think it's a likely scenario.
Good. We can't rule anything out. Of course, like we're not going to be certain about anything.
If I'm going to rule it out. You keep saying rule it out. Like, but
okay. So sorry, you're right. You're right. Are you considering it very unlikely, like I am? Very unlikely.
We're talking about from a top-down systemic thing, right? Not just specific incidents.
Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure Israel, like any army in the world, has an asshole soldier that just would loves to commit genocide. I'm sure they have soldiers like that. But systematically, you're saying that's not there.
I think it's unlikely.
Good. I agree with you there. Okay, that's good. That makes you more sane than most critics of Israel. Okay, that's fantastic.
I'm not even a critic of Israel. I'm just a critic of wars and this war in general. I'm not a critic of Israel in general.
Well, you should be a critic of Israel. You should be a critic of every country.
Why?
Because pressuring countries to being critical of how countries operate will make them better.
It's not my home. I don't live there. I live in America. Like if anything.
Well, you live on planet Earth.
Yeah, there's hundreds and hundreds of countries. I can't be critical of all of them. Are you kidding me? My brain is going to explode.
This one is different. This one is a symbolic fight between liberalism and illiberalism. But I'm not going to get into that.
Right? I totally disagree with that framing, but okay. I don't think this is.
I think the war between Russia and Ukraine, the war between Russia and Ukraine, and the war between Israel and Hamas represent a war greater than themselves, an ideological global fight. But again, I'm not.
I think the mistake with a lot of the framing on both sides has been to make this like a Jewish versus Muslim thing, and it's not, because I do agree. This is what I disagree with.
It's liberal versus illiberal. It's not Jewish versus Muslim.
Well, Israel has a very conservative government right now. What do you mean?
Yeah, and Israel has elements of liberalism, and right now a government that I don't like because it's challenging Israel's liberalism. Israel's secularism and Israel's liberalism is now being challenged by the Likud party and the two other far right parties that I hate. I love Israel and I hate what these far right parties are doing to it.
So but so a country. We're talking about the people in general. If Israel's like most countries, they have a combination of liberals, conservatives, people in the middle. I just thought we were talking about the government of the country. If we're talking about people,
would you be anti-American because you don't like Trump?
No, of course not.
No, so I'm not going to be anti-Israel.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I feel like we're misunderstanding each other. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I was talking about what you were saying earlier in terms of you were saying liberal conservative, like liberal values versus conservative values. I was just saying that, well, the reason that I don't agree with the framing of liberal for Israel is because their current politics are conservative. That's the only point I'm making.
They have a conservative power. They have a conservative party in power, but the institutions, the way that the country operates, they're having the parliament, the judicial branch, the executive branch. The whole framework is based on a nation-state model, based on the modern liberal standards that we have, and there are checks and balances, and there's the rule of law, and there's not the level of secularism that I like, but more secular than most other countries in that neighborhood. So there are a lot here things to celebrate here. There's a free economy, entrepreneurship.
I agree. There's many things to celebrate about Israel. I think Israel overall is great country, great people, great landscape, whatever. But I think you're talking about. I think the initial proposition was about liberalism, conservatism, and you were talking about checks and balances. So I do agree with you that in Western democracy, especially a place like Israel, there's typically checks and balances. But have you noticed how all accountability for why October 7th happened has been suspended until the war is over? So to me, it seems like the accountability will happen at some point after this war is over, but there hasn't been much accountability that's been happening now. Otherwise, then why would there not be an investigation like October 10th about why October 7th happened? Do you notice how that keeps getting put off until after the war is over?
There has been investigations, and the reports are damning. Within Israel,
Israel did their own reporting on this. I mean, Israel did their own investigation on this.
Yeah, within Israel, people have been the reports that are coming out of Israel for why October.
No, are you talking about like Haaretz, or are you talking about the Israeli government? They're different.
No. I'm talking about independent journalism from
Yeah, yeah,
within
yeah.
Israel.
But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, in America, after Kennedy was shot, there's like an official government investigation, right? So I'm talking about government
Yeah.
investigation.
Yeah.
Those
Okay.
haven't.
You are spoiled. Okay. When you compare things to America, most countries are not going to look very good. Okay. That's a very, when it comes to, yes, United States has levels of standards beyond most other countries out there.
But we're talking
That's not
about
a
just
fair
checks and
comparison.
balances. If
But
there's checks and
yes,
balances,
Israel relative to most countries, it's an advanced country that people are held accountable. Again,
no one
I'm an Iranian, so
denying
my
that.
point of reference is not is not as much as yours. So maybe that we're both biased here. I come from a country
I'm not
with zero
denying
checks
that.
and balances.
I'm not
Yeah,
denying that Israel's a very advanced country, or there's going to be checks and balances at some point. What I'm saying is a lot of these checks and balances have been suspended until the war is over. I understand there's Haaretz and there's independent journalists in Israel who do their own investigations.
I yeah,
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking
I
about the
agree
Israeli
with
official government.
you. I agree with you. I agree that I wish there was more. Like Netanyahu would have to pay a price for letting Israelis die like that earlier. Like I want more from Israel. Like if you want to criticize Israel for not having, being more strict about it's not. If you want to talk about disappointments, I could tell you that my disappointment comes way before October 7th, because way before October 7th, I was condemning Netanyahu for supporting Hamas. For
Right. Yeah,
basically supporting.
I'm
Yeah,
glad you said that. Yeah, a lot of people will deny that, but yeah, yeah. But I think also, just can we, if we're talking about incentives and motivations, wouldn't it seem like Netanyahu has every incentive to keep the war going? Because as soon as the war ends, then
yes,
the counter
I'm not.
begins.
I'm a fan of Israel. I'm not a fan of Netanyahu. I'm anti-Netanyahu because I'm a fan of Israel. Okay, and
But then,
even
how
if
do you
even
know
if
he's not?
Netanyahu, but here's the thing. I agree that Netanyahu's intentions for keeping this war going is not good. However, it's also true that every other leader from every other party would have kept this war going.
Yes,
Like
I
from
understand that. Yes,
right.
but
So
that's
even though
that's a problem in the. I agree with you. Yes, there's people hating Yahoo in Israel, but they support the war. There's an issue. Yeah, like that's why I disagree when people say, "Oh, just get
but
rid of
I
Yahoo."
support this war. I support this war because I think the number of Palestinian casualties would be higher if this war ends before we make sure that Hamas doesn't get to control Gaza anymore.
Okay,
Because
so
if you don't finish this war, if you leave while leaving situations in a way that Hamas could regain control over Gaza, you will have to do all of this again a couple of years down the road, and there's going to be another, I don't know, tens of thousands of Palestinians dying. So for the sake of Palestinians, for the sake of reducing wars, you should not do a ceasefire until you finish the job here. I'm saying this for the sake of Palestinians, actually, to make sure
yeah,
you
I mean,
remove Hamas from.
it's hard to say. Yeah, sure, it's easy to say that, but if you're like a Palestinian who gets indiscriminately
Oh yeah,
bombed, like you're gonna be thinking like "fuck Israel." It's like, oh yeah, you're doing this to help me.
I
So
would definitely be saying that. If I was in that, here's the thing. Of course,
humans are family oriented and tribal, so it's like
if
the first circle is always
if
family and
I, if
friends.
a bomb drops from the sky and kills my daughter, if you come and tell me that this is Hamas's fault, not the person who dropped the bomb, I'm going to tell you to go and die. Of course, I'm going to say that. Okay. But again, a person who lost their child is not the best reliable
Sure,
source of
that's
information ever.
true. I just disagree. I'm just pushing back the argument that this is for the Palestinian people. I don't
It
think
is.
like I don't
It
I don't
is. Saving Gaza from Hamas benefits the Palestinian people.